JuJu Watkins is proving that not all rising stars in basketball share the same mindset when it comes to embracing change, acknowledging talent, and recognizing what's best for the future of the sport. While debates rage on about draft rules, NIL deals, and the influx of new fans, Watkins stands out, not just for her talent, but for her refreshing attitude. It's no secret that women's basketball is experiencing unprecedented growth. Players like Caitlyn Clark are drawing record-breaking attention to the game, and yet some in the WNBA haven't been so welcoming. Why is that, and what does it say about the league's readiness to evolve? The world of women's basketball, particularly the WNBA, has been buzzing with events, accomplishments, and yes, controversies. Recently, Angel Reese has been making headlines, this time not for her on-court performances, but for landing the cover of Vogue's Winter Edition. That's right, Angel Reese, who has already garnered significant attention in sports circles, is now stepping into the world of high fashion. While some celebrate this achievement as monumental, others argue about its weight compared to other accolades in the sports world. It raises an interesting question: what truly matters more, cultural relevance through media like Vogue, or a more traditional honor like being named Athlete of the Year by Time magazine?
Angel Reese is no stranger to attention. Her name has been circulating in the media for the past year, often with a mix of admiration and controversy. She's been vocal about issues she faces, from unwanted attention online to the challenges of being a woman in sports. Despite this, Reese has managed to carve out a unique position for herself, not just as a basketball player, but as someone who's making waves in the broader cultural arena. Appearing on the cover of Vogue is no small feat, especially for an athlete. For Reese, it's not just a moment to shine, but also a step closer to realizing her dream of becoming a fashion icon. It's a dream that resonates with many young people who aspire to transcend the boundaries of their chosen fields. But let's not kid ourselves. The celebration surrounding this achievement has its critics. For all the praise Reese is receiving, some feel the media's reaction is disproportionate. Why is an athlete being lauded so extravagantly for appearing in a magazine? And why does this moment seem to overshadow more traditional measures of success in sports? Then there is Caitlyn Clark, a name synonymous with excellence in women's basketball right now. Clark's on-court heroics and undeniable talent have elevated her to near-legendary status, not just within the WNBA, but across sports in general. She was named Time magazine's Athlete of the Year, a prestigious honor that places her among the ranks of sports giants like Patrick Mahomes and LeBron James. Yet, the response to Clark's accomplishment has been surprisingly muted in comparison to the media frenzy around Reese. Instead of being solely celebrated, Clark was subjected to criticism and even pressure to share her spotlight with other players. The argument? That her success should somehow be distributed across the league to elevate lesser-known players. This brings us to a larger issue within the WNBA: the perception that the league, and those covering it, attempt to dictate which players deserve attention. In Clark's case, this approach not only undermined her achievements, but also highlighted a troubling dynamic. Why is the WNBA so eager to redistribute the spotlight instead of letting stars like Clark shine on their own terms? Clark has become a sensation, bringing new fans to the sport and raising the profile of women's basketball as a whole. Despite this, some players and commentators in the WNBA seem more focused on criticizing the attention she receives rather than appreciating what she brings to the table. The pushback feels unnecessary, even counterproductive, especially when young talents like JuJu Watkins are setting an entirely different example. JuJu Watkins, a standout freshman from USC, is already being hailed as the next Caitlyn Clark by analysts and fans alike. Her talent on the court is undeniable, but what makes her truly special is her mindset. Instead of harboring jealousy or resentment, Watkins fully embraces the growth of the sport, the influx of new fans, and even the challenges that come with heightened scrutiny. She's showing maturity beyond her years, a trait that's sorely needed in women's basketball as it continues to evolve. When asked about Caitlyn Clark's impact on the sport and the attention she's brought, Watkins didn't miss a beat. In an interview with Fox News, she acknowledged that while new fans can sometimes be critical or uninformed, their presence is ultimately a good thing. "The fact that people are watching is enough in itself," she said. "We would like it to be positive, but it's not always going to be like that. As long as we continue to raise the numbers and viewership goes up, I think that's all we can ask for." Think about that for a moment. Here's a 19-year-old player who could easily let the pressure or noise of the growing spotlight get to her, and yet she's focused on the bigger picture. Watkins understands that every fan, even the critical ones, contributes to the sport's growth. It's a mindset that contrasts sharply with some of the comments we've seen from veteran WNBA players, who've been quick to critique Clark and the attention she garners. Take, for example, the ongoing discussion about the WNBA's draft eligibility rule. The league currently requires domestic players to be at least 22 years old during the draft year or to have completed their college eligibility. This rule has sparked criticism from many, including NBA superstar LeBron James, who openly questioned why the WNBA hasn't adopted the NBA's one-and-done rule, allowing players to enter the draft after just 1 year of college. LeBron's frustration is understandable. Why should young, talented players like JuJu Watkins have to wait to join the pros when they're clearly ready? But Watkins herself doesn't seem bothered by the rule, at least not yet. When asked about it in a post-game press conference after USC's victory over Maryland, she offered a thoughtful response. "Yeah, I don't know. I think eventually that would be nice to have the option. But I think the league's not necessarily where it needs to be," she said. She's not wrong. The WNBA is still growing. With only 12 teams currently and a 13th, Golden State Valkyries, set to debut this year, the league simply doesn't have the infrastructure to accommodate a significant influx of younger players. Compare that to the NBA's 30 teams, MLB's 30 teams, or the NFL's 32 teams, and the gap becomes glaringly obvious. Even with 2 more teams planned by 2026, the WNBA remains limited in its capacity. Watkins understands this. There needs to be more roster spots, more teams, so it's definitely developing and it's continuing to grow, she said. Her patience is admirable, especially when you consider how much she stands to gain by turning pro. Thanks to the NIL era, college athletes like Watkins are no longer under financial pressure to rush into professional sports. Despite not being among the top NIL earners, Watkins has already secured high-profile deals with Nike and Gatorade, with her NIL value estimated at $576,000. This financial security allows her to focus on her development as a player and enjoy the college experience. "I'm having fun in college and can't wait to get to the pros," Watkins said during her press conference. In terms of that, for me personally, I don't see the benefit of changing the rule, but definitely down the line. Watkins' perspective is a stark contrast to some of the rhetoric we've seen from veteran WNBA players. While she's looking at the bigger picture, others seem more focused on maintaining the status quo, or worse, tearing down players like Caitlyn Clark, who are helping to elevate the sport. It's this kind of negativity that JuJu Watkins is pushing back against, whether she realizes it or not. Her approach to the game and the business side of basketball is also refreshing. On the Good Game with Sarah Spain podcast, Watkins shared her thoughts on the balance between college and professional basketball. "I definitely think we should have the option," she said, referring to the draft rule. "There's just been such a growth in college basketball where it's like, why would you want to leave? Because you're able to have that experience and build your brand here in college as well." Watkins is right. The growth of college basketball, especially in the women's game, has been remarkable. Players like Caitlyn Clark and JuJu Watkins are proving that the college environment offers a unique platform to develop both on and off the court. It's a space where they can hone their skills, grow their fan base, and secure lucrative NIL deals, all without the immediate pressure of competing at the professional level. But make no mistake, Watkins is excited about her future in the WNBA. She knows her time will come, and when it does, she'll be ready. Until then, she's focused on making the most of her college experience and contributing to the growth of women's basketball in her own way. What's especially striking about Watkins is her ability to navigate the complexities of this conversation with grace and maturity. She's not just a talented basketball player, she's a leader and a role model. Her willingness to embrace Caitlyn Clark's success, support the growth of the sport, and approach the draft eligibility debate with patience and understanding sets her apart from many of her peers. There's no denying Caitlyn Clark's transformative impact on women's basketball. Her electrifying performances and ability to draw massive crowds have revitalized interest in a sport that has often struggled to gain consistent viewership. Before Clark, the WNBA and women's basketball in general rarely enjoyed the kind of fan engagement seen in men's sports. Gymnasiums echoed with emptiness, and TV broadcasts were met with apathy. Clark, however, changed the game, literally and figuratively. Her skill, confidence, and star power brought a new audience to the WNBA. Yet, instead of being universally celebrated, Clark has often faced criticism, not for her abilities, but for the attention she commands. Some voices within the league and the media have framed her popularity as something to be shared, suggesting that her individual spotlight should instead illuminate other players who haven't garnered the same recognition. This approach has sparked frustration among her supporters. Why diminish Clark's accomplishments by implying her success needs to be redistributed? The WNBA's tendency to promote narratives that downplay the importance of standout players like Clark has only fueled divisive rhetoric. For a more seasoned perspective, consider Diana Taurasi, one of the WNBA's all-time greats. In a recent discussion, Taurasi addressed the learning curve that Caitlyn Clark and other new players might face when entering the league. While Taurasi's comments weren't necessarily critical, they highlighted a generational gap in how players perceive the sport's evolution. Taurasi, now in her late 30s, has spent her career playing in a league that has often struggled for relevance. She's seen the WNBA through its highs and lows and has undoubtedly faced her share of challenges. Yet her remarks about Clark and the fan base she's brought to the sport carried an air of defensiveness, a sentiment echoed by other veteran players. The contrast between Taurasi and Watkins is striking. Watkins, despite her youth, seems to grasp the importance of leveraging any and all attention to grow the sport. Taurasi, on the other hand, appears more guarded, perhaps reflecting the struggles she's witnessed over decades in the league. The WNBA has long struggled with its identity and relevance. Despite the undeniable talent of its players, the league often finds itself battling for attention in a crowded sports landscape. One of the main criticisms is its tendency to focus more on narratives and less on the game itself. This approach creates tension between players and fans. When the media picks and chooses which athletes to celebrate, it risks alienating those who feel their favorites are being overlooked. Worse, it diminishes the achievements of players like Clark, who have genuinely earned their accolades. The media plays a significant role in shaping public perception of the WNBA. By disproportionately celebrating certain players or moments, it inadvertently fosters division rather than unity. This isn't to say that accomplishments like Reese's Vogue cover shouldn't be celebrated. They absolutely should, but it's important to strike a balance. For years, the league has struggled to fill seats and attract a consistent audience. Critics often point to the league's approach to marketing and storytelling as part of the problem. Instead of focusing on the game and its stars, the WNBA sometimes gets bogged down in narratives that alienate potential fans. This is where players like JuJu Watkins can make a difference. Her mindset is one of inclusion and appreciation, even for fans who might not fully understand the nuances of the sport. By focusing on the positives, higher viewership, greater attention, she offers a blueprint for how the WNBA can move forward. Athletes like Clark and Watkins deserve recognition for their contributions to the sport. At the same time, cultural milestones like Reese's foray into fashion should be acknowledged as part of the broader story of women's basketball. Women's basketball is at a crossroads. The rise of players like Angel Reese, Caitlyn Clark, and JuJu Watkins presents an opportunity to redefine the sport's narrative. But for this to happen, the league and its supporters need to focus on celebrating talent and hard work, not just media-driven stories. Angel Reese's Vogue cover is a moment worth applauding. Caitlyn Clark's Athlete of the Year award is an even bigger deal. JuJu Watkins' promise offers hope for the future. The WNBA must find a way to embrace all these stories without undermining any of them. The path forward isn't about choosing between fashion, accolades, or game-changing talent. It's about recognizing that they all contribute to the larger tapestry of women's basketball. Let's celebrate it all, equally, fairly, and with the respect each deserves. As the WNBA continues to evolve, It would do well to take a page from JuJu Watkins's playbook. The league has come a long way, but there's still work to be done. Expansion is a step in the right direction, but the structural challenges remain. Players like Watkins represent the future of the league, not just because of their talent, but because of their ability to see the bigger picture and push for progress in a thoughtful, constructive way. So, what do you think? Is JuJu Watkins right about the WNBA not being ready for younger players just yet? Should the league consider lowering its draft eligibility age? Or is the current rule necessary given its limited capacity? And how do you feel about the way Watkins is handling herself, both on and off the court? Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective matters, and we want to hear it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.